Amber Lyon, three-time award-winning, Emmy award-winning journalist, photographer, and filmmaker.
Well, I really worry here that the United States public is being led into another potential conflict with Iran, the similar way that we were led into the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, because you're starting to see the mainstream media really overhype the situation in Iran and omit important facts like what you just showed, Liz, where Ahmadinejad was saying that there are options for peace. But if you go back and you look at the way that CNN and other mainstream outlets covered that, they ignored that part of the speech. And if you look at all the propaganda being fed to the American public right now in terms of Iran, we have movies here coming out, Argo. We've got the mainstream media oversaturation of coverage of the Iran situation. And, you know, based on everything that's happening here in the U.S. with the mortgage crisis, the economy, the fact that most Americans are having problems just getting by day to day, the fact that the mainstream media is over-covering Iran only says one thing to me, and that's that the American public is being propagated into another war, Liz.
And why do you think that this is happening?
Well, I think that it's a use of propaganda, and this is something that goes back to the terms weapons of mass destruction. The American public was fed that phrase over and over and over leading into the Iraq war, and now we're starting to see it as far as nuclear weapons and Iran goes in the U.S., Liz. And I just fear that the public is continuing to be fed propaganda that unassuming Americans don't realize they're being fed to lead us into another potential conflict.
Now, the job of the media is supposed to be, you know, this fourth estate and to, you know, show, all possible angles and basically just to report the truth. What do you think it is? I know that you worked for CNN. Why would it be otherwise? Why would they be presenting war propaganda, as you call it?
Well, I really can't speculate as to exactly why this is going on, but I can tell you that when I was working for CNN, we did have a documentary that we aired on the Bahrain situation, and that's where we have our naval base, which is right across from Iran, so we strategically want to keep that naval base, and it was very difficult to get stories on about Bahrain. I even came out a couple weeks ago talking about the censorship of that documentary on CNN International. And above all, Liz, I feel that the American public is not being fed the true story about what's going on in this region, and it's very dangerous, because when the public is constantly fed messages that are potentially leading us into a war that may not be necessary, it's not fair to the American people, and it's not fair to journalism, because the truth isn't being told here. What's being told here is the way that these networks want to spin the truth, and that's leading us into another potential conflict with Iran. And I've been trying to tell my followers on my Facebook page and on Twitter to really open your eyes, because once you notice and start to you take the blindfold off, you start to see all of this anti-Iran propaganda floating through the American mainstream media, and it's symbolic of exactly what was going on before the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, Liz.